Hey guys, today I'm going to be sharing my personal ranking of the Ninjago Redesigns. I know this is sort of an abandoned topic in terms of Ninjago, pretty outdated, but I like ranking things and I figured it would be a fun premise for my first discussion video on my channel. But to quickly recap a few things for the newer Ninjago fans who may not have been around at the time, back in 2017 when the movie dropped, it was our very first introduction to the redesigns of the ninja, and it was later revealed that these designs would be incorporated into the TV series. This ended up being a controversial decision, likely made by the marketing team that ultimately split the Ninjago fanbase in half. People either despised these designs or were really excited for the change. But as for me, I was sort of in the middle. I didn't really love the idea of changing the look of our iconic ninja crew, but I also felt like abandoning the show over it was kind of silly, especially when the next season was being hyped up and promised by the writers to be one of, if not the greatest season of all time, which ultimately it did in my opinion. But today I want to go over my current thoughts 9 years later by ranking each of these designs one by one and revealing whether or not I think these designs should have happened. So, without further ado, let's get started. To start off, my personal least favorite redesign is Jay's. Sorry to all the Jay fans out there, but I honestly can't help but feel like he was nerfed pretty bad.
Look how they massacred my boy.
To begin, when you think back to the first few seasons of the show, it's pretty clear, at least to me, that Jay is supposed to be like the most tidy and hygienic ninja, as well as sort of the pretty boy in a sense. He would often try to smell and dress nice to impress Nia, as well as wear makeup and comb his hair. He'd also do this when he's on TV, and it always felt like one of his core character traits, at least to me. So I don't really like this hairpiece for him at all. I think it looks like he hasn't brushed his hair for days, and I just can't see him doing that. I'm also not a huge fan of the freckles. I get that he's the comic relief character, but giving him freckles feels a bit of it just feels like a little bit of a cliche for that archetype. But mostly I was disappointed by the removal of his eyebrow notch. I always felt like it completed his look, and it was kind of a bummer that they just decided to get rid of it. But that's all I really have to say about Jay's design. But moving on to number 5, we got Zane's design. And, this isn't like the worst thing ever, but the changes here feel sort of pointless in my opinion. I don't really understand why they felt the need to get rid of his sideburns because now it looks like he just has like a bottle cap on top of his head. Not terrible look by any means, but I do feel like it's a slight downgrade from the original. Something positive to note on though is that I really like how it translated into Zane's titanium form. The main reason being because he kind of just looks exactly the same as he did before. But as a whole, I don't really have much else positive to say about this design. Definitely not the worst thing ever. Definitely not. Like, it's okay, but it's not nearly as good as it could have been. But moving on to number 4, and this might be sort of a hot take, but this is where I put Lloyd's design. Truth be told, I'm not crazy about this one. And I actually prefer the original. With that being said, though, this design is still pretty decent. The hairpiece looks pretty good and has some nice detail. The green eyes are kind of cool too, I guess, although I personally prefer Lloyd without them. But all in all, it's a good design, and honestly, I think the whole look suits the character pretty well. Another thing I would Another thing I would give this one some major points for is that I think of all the designs, this one 100% makes the most sense narratively, as we see how his voice drops, and you can tell he's aged as well as grown more powerful over time. And but that's all I really have to say about Lloyd's design. So yeah, pretty good, but now to move on to number 3. And at number 3, I would say we actually have Kai's design. And I'm pretty fond of this design, actually. One thing I want to point out is that I honestly think the newer hairpiece is a massive improvement over the old one. This is exactly what I think the old hair should have been. It really does look like the hair of a fire master. Because, like, if you look at it, it literally looks like a flame. And it's kind of cool. And the detail is a lot better on it as well. And I feel like you can actually kind of see where his hairline is supposed to be, whereas the old one just looks a little bit incoherent. And the face is fantastic too. I like how similar it looks to the old one, and I am most of all, I love the addition of the scars. And I mean, yeah, technically we always got scars with the original Kai minifigures, even back in the day, but it wasn't something that we ever got to see him with in like the old design of the old version of him in the show. It didn't really translate into the show. It just was sort of on the minifigures. And so now, because of the redesign, not only are the scars more prominent, but you actually get to see it more in the show as well. And so yeah, I really like that. And I find that to be an improvement, but my only issue with this one is that I'm not crazy about the bandage. All in all, it's a good design, and in my opinion, just as good as the old one. But that's all I really have to say about Kai. And moving on to the second place spot, we have Cole's redesign. And it's honestly really good. And I think a big reason as to why is simply because it's not that different hardly at all from the original. It feels like it's trying to stay pretty faithful to the source material, but all that's really different is his hair. It's a lot longer, as you can see, but I really, really, really appreciate that they kept his bushy eyebrows. They kept them the same, and I feel like we can all agree that it would have been a crime to get rid of those because, like, it's just sort of a signature mark of Cole. I am a little sad that his scar is faded, but to be fair, that's sort of what scars do over time in real life. So I kind of get it, and it's a good way to show like that time has passed. But all in all, I think his design is really good. I love his hairpiece too. As a whole, I still think I prefer his original design a little bit better, but this one is still very solid. But moving on to number 1, we have our girl Nia. Now, in my opinion, this is a massive globe from before. And just to be clear, I don't hate her old design, but this is for sure an improvement, if you ask me. They somehow managed to make her look very bad A, way more than before. I love her hairstyle a lot more. I love her beauty mark, and they even changed up her whole style as well. I mean, at least at some parts, and honestly, I think it fits her personality way more than before. The great coloring of her newer suits works really well, and I like the tomboyish look of some of her outfits, like the jeans and leather jacket, for example. And yeah, I just think this design is good, it's very fantastic, and very underrated. But that's pretty much it for this video. If you enjoyed, make sure you like and subscribe and turn on your notification bell if you're interested in seeing more Ninjago content like this. Also, be sure to let me know your personal ranking of the redesigns if you want. I would love to hear your thoughts. As a whole, I personally don't think they were necessarily um, a necessary thing to add to the show, but let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Feel free to comment and like if you enjoyed this ranking. But I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Peace out.